about treasure. Treasure. So, morning. Top of the day to you. I thought about a parakeet. Wouldn't that have been great? Come in with a pirate hat, patch on my eye, but I just couldn't do that either. Arr. So anyway, I want to start off. I want to talk to you about, we're going to talk about treasure today. And we're going to hit it from several different angles. And if you guys notice, I mean, we're growing, we're expanding. We got one more table back here. We've added another table. We've broken everything apart. You guys are treasure. You guys are God's treasure. And man, what an exciting opportunity for all of these gems to be together in one room. Man, if we sparkled and we radiated the love of Christ as a light shining on a gem, what would that look like? So I want to tell you some stories today. Actually, I'm going to tell you about two men. No, actually three. First one, in 1352 BC, there was a boy. He was 9 years old, and he became a king. In 1352 BC, the boy's name was King Tut. He was put on the throne. He was the king of the entire nation of Egypt. He reigned in Egypt until the age of 17. With all the splendor and all the glory that Egypt had back in those days, he, as a boy, was in charge of all of it. He had everything he wanted. But at age 17, he died. See, the Egyptians believed that after you died, there was an afterlife. So inside of his tomb that was inlaid in gold, there were golden chariots, solid gold chariots. There were thousands of golden artifacts, all placed in there because when the king came alive on the other side of life, he had his treasures there to enjoy. For 3,000 years, the tomb of King Tut was not found. Nobody knew where it was. In 1922, there was a man named Howard Carter who stumbled upon the burial chamber of King Tut. When they opened it up, they were amazed at what they found, because inside of that tomb, they found the solid gold chariots and the thousands of golden artifacts. And inside a solid gold sarcophagus, they found the mummified remains of King Tut. He had not used them in his afterlife like he had planned. They were all still there in the same place that they had been for 3,000 years. Fast forward to 1904. There was a man named William Borden. William Borden was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was an heir to the Borden Dairy Estate. When he graduated from high school, from a Chicago high school in 1904, his parents sent him as a gift around the world, just to see the entire world before he decided what he was going to do. He went around the world, and as he went through Asia and Europe and into the Middle East, God burdened his heart with the hurting people that were all around the world. As he was traveling, he sent his parents back a letter. He said, you know, I've been over here and I see these hurting people. I've decided I can't come back and do the family business. I'm going to give my life to the mission field. He returned to the United States, went to Yale. After he graduated from Yale, he was given many offers in 1904 with astronomical figures to take a job, each of which he turned down. He then went to the Princeton Seminary, graduated from there. After that, he decided he was going to go and be a missionary to the Muslims in China. On his way to China, he stopped off in Cairo. Because there was a large Muslim population, he wanted to be prepared for what he was going to encounter in China. He was in Egypt for a short time. Within a month, after he got there, he contracted cerebral meningitis. A month later, at the age of 25, he died. His tomb is in Cairo. If you drive down an old street, down an alley, down a littered street, you will find an old gravesite for American missionaries that's overgrown. And there, his remains are still to this day. Two people, similar in some ways, and yet so very different. Two wealthy people. Two people that had their lives cut short. Two peoples whose tombs are extremely different. One lived as a king, and one was buried as a king with an unimaginable wealth there that he took with him. And yet, as we already discussed, he couldn't use it when he was gone. It was all there. And he's spending an eternity separate from God. The other one, a boy who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, who could have anything and everything that he wanted, and yet chose to give it all up to serve the King of Kings. And now enjoys the treasures of what was put in heaven while he was down here on this earth. I want to tell you one more story. It's based on a parable that Jesus told. There was a man walking. He was walking along a road. It was hot. It was in the Middle East. It was in the middle of the day. He had been traveling all day. His staff in his hand. His tunic was stained with sweat. The sweat was running down his brow as he wiped it off. His sandals were dirty because he had been traveling all day. His shoulders were stooped over. He was tired. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't. He had business in the city. He needed to get to the city before nightfall, so there was no time to stop. There was no time to rest. As he was traveling along, he cuts across this field. The field is uneven. As he's walking across the field, he's using his staff and he's sticking it in the ground to make sure that he doesn't fall, because he is tired and this is the only support that he's got. As he's walking along, he thrusts his pole into the ground and he hears. He thinks to himself, what could that be? It's unusual. It didn't sound like a rock. He pulls his staff up again and he goes. And he thinks, there's got to be something under there. It's not a rock. But the sun is getting ready to set. I've got to get to the city. I've got this important business. But the curiosity got the best of him. So he starts taking his staff and he starts moving the dirt around right where he was walking. And he sees a glimmer of something. He puts his staff down and gets down on his knees. What could that be? What could it be in the ground? I just have got to find out. I'll take a few minutes and find out. He starts pulling the dirt away. As he's digging, he comes down and he finds a chest. And he looks at the chest and he says, this chest looks like it's been here forever. He looks around. There's nobody there. There's no houses. There's nobody for miles. The last person that he passed on the road was some 3 miles back.